At 5:30 a.m., while the world was still cloaked in silence, Emily's eyes snapped open. It was before her alarm even had a chance to sound. A decade-long, hellish routine etched into her body had reacted before her brain could. Dragging her heavy body out of bed and into the bathroom, Emily looked at herself in the mirror. Her dull skin and deep, dark circles were a testament to the previous day's exhaustion. But there was no time for self-pity. That was a luxury she couldn't afford. A place she had to visit before work was waiting for her. After a quick makeup routine, she hurried out of her suburban Chicago home and arrived at the cold, sprawling parking garage of Northwestern Memorial Hospital. It was 6:10 a.m. At an hour when most people were still deep in slumber, Emily stepped into the elevator heading to the 7th floor oncology ward. As soon as she opened the hospital room door, the sharp smell of antiseptic hit her, along with the sight of her mother-in-law, Susan, stirring from the uncomfortable recliner next to the bed. Seeing Emily, Susan didn't greet her with warmth, but with an entitled flick of her chin. "Look who decided to show up. I thought you said you'd be here early. But the sun's already up." Emily suppressed a surge of frustration and answered calmly. "I'm sorry, Susan. I got here as fast as I could. Dad, how was your night? Did the test results come in?" Stretching her arms, Susan began gathering her purse, ignoring Emily's questions and rattling off her own agenda. "The doctor is doing his rounds this morning, so you stay here and wait for him. I'm so stiff I need to go to the spa. And I can't stand this hospital food, so I'm going out for a proper breakfast at the diner." Emily glanced at her watch in a panic. She didn't have much time before she had to be at her office in the Loop. "Susan, you know I have to be at work by 9 a.m. It's already past 6:30. Susan narrowed her eyes, glaring at Emily. "You are so selfish. Your father-in-law is battling cancer, fighting for his life. And all you can talk about is your job? It's not like your boss doesn't know he's sick. Are you going to get fired for being a little late? I can't leave until I know you're here to watch him." Without waiting for a reply, Susan swept out of the room like a storm. Emily sat beside her father-in-law, George, who was now alone in the quiet room. He opened his eyes weakly and took Emily's hand, speaking without a hint of apology. "Emily, you work so hard. You're the only one this family can rely on. Without you, we would have been on the street long ago." That phrase, "you work so hard," felt less like a compliment and more like a shackle. As she helped George take a sip of water, her phone buzzed incessantly. It was Mr. Thompson from the finance department at her company. "Yes, Mr. Thompson. Oh, that. I finished the list before I left yesterday and put it in the second drawer on the left side of my desk. Yes. I've already set up the approval line for the proposal up to the director. I'll forward you the materials for the morning meeting again via email." Stepping out into the hallway, Emily spent over 10 minutes on the work call, her voice tinged with desperation. To avoid criticism for her frequent absences, she had to work 2 or 3 times harder and more perfectly than anyone else. When she finally hung up and returned to the room, Susan was back, munching on a pastry from the hospital cafe. "Hey, Emily, before you leave, go down and pay the hospital bill. The billing office has been hounding me since this morning. It's so embarrassing." A tightness gripped Emily's chest. "Susan, I have to leave right now to make it on time. Can't the bill wait until I come back after work?" Susan slammed the pastry down on the table and yelled, "Are you kidding me? They're threatening to discharge him if we don't pay by noon today. If you're going to be a proper daughter-in-law, this is the least you can do. Is paying a few $1,000s that painful for you? You've lived comfortably on your husband's money all this time. Are you really going to be this stingy?" The idea that her husband, Mike, had provided for her was so absurd, Emily couldn't even manage a bitter laugh. For the past 3 years, it was Emily's salary that had covered the constant losses from Mike's failing sports bar. But knowing that arguing would only waste time, she ran down to the billing office on the first floor. "The interim total for this month is $2,300. With a trembling hand, Emily handed over her personal credit card. Her in-laws took it for granted, but this card was funded by the savings she had painstakingly accumulated before her marriage. With the swipe of the card, her bank account balance hit another low. The hellish morning commute through Chicago traffic got her to the office at 8:50 a.m. As soon as she sat down, she heard her colleagues whispering. "Looks like Emily came from the hospital again. She looks exhausted. But still, she should be on time, right?" Murmuring apologies, Emily frantically typed at her keyboard. After clearing over 30 emails and organizing a report, her phone vibrated again around 11 a.m. It was her husband, Mike. "Hey, it's me. Why isn't the business card working? The guy from the beer distributor is standing right here, giving me a dirty look. It's so embarrassing. Emily massaged her temples. Did you check the credit limit? I paid it off last week. I don't know. I guess I used it all. What? You like your husband being humiliated in public? Hurry up and do something. Just wire me $1,500 right now. Seriously, this is pathetic. There wasn't a trace of apology in Mike's voice. Emily opened her mobile banking app and transferred the money from her personal emergency fund to Mike's account. Watching the numbers decrease, she felt a wave of hopelessness. How was she going to cover the mortgage and the utility bills this month? The future felt bleak. At 2 p.m., having skipped lunch to work on a proposal, Emily received another call from her mother-in-law. Emily, your father's prescription ran out. You need to go to the pharmacy and get it refilled right now. Susan, I'm about to go into an important meeting. I'll go as soon as I get off work. A meeting is more important than your father-in-law's pain? You are a terrifying woman. You pretend to be a devoted daughter-in-law. But deep down, are you just hoping he dies quickly? If you don't come now, I swear I'll call your mother and ask her what kind of daughter she raised. The mention of her own mother made Emily crumble. She bowed her head to her boss and requested to leave early yet again. Emily, this is the third time this month. Is this job a joke to you? Family issues are one thing, but this is getting out of hand. Ignoring her boss's reprimand, she rushed to the hospital and delivered the medicine. Susan snatched the bag without a word of thanks and tossed it into a drawer, only complaining that she hadn't come sooner. On her way home, with no time to rest, Emily headed straight to her husband's bar. When she walked in, Mike was sitting at an empty table, engrossed in a game on his phone. You're here? There's a mountain of dishes in the kitchen. Take care of that first. I'm not feeling well today. I can't lift a finger. Emily dropped her bag and went into the kitchen. The smell of days-old food waste and burn-on grime from the grill greeted her. 10 years ago, she had started her career in a bright dress, celebrating her new job. Now, her hands were raw and chapped from bleach and grease. After helping at the bar and closing out the register until 11 p.m., an exhausted Emily asked Mike, Mike, can we keep living like this? Between the bar losing money and your dad's hospital bills, my salary can't cover it all. Mike answered with annoyance. Hey, you're the one who's good with money. That's why you work in finance, right? If a guy has a capable wife, he should be able to relax a little. Why are you being so uptight? I'm going golfing with my buddies tomorrow, so don't wake me up in the morning. Back home at midnight, Emily collapsed onto the bed without even washing up. A notification on her phone displayed her upcoming credit card payment. In that moment, Emily realized that to this family, she wasn't family. She was an unlimited ATM and a free maid. I was alone. From the very beginning, I've been fighting this battle all by myself in this house. In the darkness, a cold light glinted in Emily's eyes. The futility of any more patience or sacrifice seeped deep into her bones. The time had come to break free from this hellish cycle. Emily, you need to make a decision. The air in the hospital room was heavy, and Susan's voice was sharp as a knife, piercing Emily's heart. A daughter-in-law gallivanting around at a job is the reason this family is in shambles. Emily sat on a worn-out sofa in the corner of the room, staring blankly at her mother-in-law. Her eyes were bloodshot from a sleepless night of caregiving, and her mind felt foggy. Gallivanting? Susan, I'm not playing around. My salary pays for our living expenses and Dad's hospital bills. What are you talking about? Susan snorted and crossed her arms, her gaze devoid of any apology. What am I talking about? Are you serious? How can I be at peace when my husband is on his deathbed and you're sitting at a desk shuffling papers? There has to be some decency, some priorities. Are you hoping I'll just drop dead, taking care of this old man by myself in this huge hospital? As Susan's voice grew louder, George, wheezing in the next bed, struggled to open his eyes. With a faint voice, he delivered the final blow to Emily. Emily, your mother-in-law is right. Look at the state I'm in. How can you focus on work? I'm sorry, but you need to take a break for a while. Once I'm better, I won't care if you work or not. But for now, please think about the family. George's voice was quiet, but the command within it was absolute. Emily felt the air leave her lungs. Her career, which she had built over 10 years without a single wasted day, was being treated like trash. Dad, taking a break means you want me to quit my job. I just made manager and established myself. If I quit now, Who's going to compensate me for my 10 years of experience? At Emily's protest, Susan shrieked as if she'd been waiting for it. 10 years? Is that such a big deal? Does your career put food on the table when a family member is dying? How dare you talk back? You don't even know the meaning of family duty. You will resign. Right now. This isn't a request. It's an order. Understand? Emily stood up, hiding her trembling hands. Clinging to a last shred of hope, she called her husband, Mike. But his response tore her heart to shreds. Honey, your mom is demanding I quit my job. Did you know about this? Ah, yeah? Mom told me. Honey, I've been thinking, and it seems like the right thing to do. With you working, you're neglecting the bar, and things with Dad at the hospital are a mess. Take this chance to rest and support me at home. Mike's indifferent voice felt like a sledgehammer to the back of her head. Support you? Are you out of your mind? Without my salary, how will we pay our bills? How will we pay for the hospital? Stop shouting. We'll figure it out later. Just do what Mom says. I have a customer. I gotta go. The line went dead. Emily stood frozen in the cold hospital corridor for a long time. The next morning, with swollen eyes, Emily stood in the office of her department director, Mr. Davis. He sighed as he looked at the envelope she handed him. Emily, is this really your only option? We've worked together for 10 years. To see you leave like this. If it's about your in-laws, is there anything I can do to help? At Mr. Davis's genuine concern, Emily fought back tears and shook her head. No, Mr. Davis. It's my fault. I just don't have the strength to keep going anymore. Thank you for everything. And with that, Emily cleared out the desk that had been hers for a decade. As she threw a family photo from her desk into the trash can, she gritted her teeth. From the day after she quit, Emily's life became a living hell. She reported to the hospital room at 6 a.m. to handle George's bedpan and give him sponge baths. All the while, Susan sat beside them, eating fruit and watching television. Hey, Emily, Dad is going to get bed sores. You're supposed to turn him every 2 hours. What are you doing? And later, when the test results come out, make sure you ask the doctor detailed questions. When I ask, he just gives me a vague explanation. Yes, Susan, I know. Emily mechanically replied, meticulously recording George's condition in a notebook. A moment later, Susan grabbed her designer handbag and stood up. I'm going out for a bit. My friends are treating me to a nice lunch since I'm working so hard taking care of my sick husband. You stay right here and don't move. You hear me? After Susan left, Emily checked George's fourth drip in the empty room. With his eyes closed, George mumbled, Emily, I'm sorry. But to Emily, those words sounded like the most hypocritical sentiment in the world. They claimed to be sorry while destroying her future and working her like a slave. Now, she was seeing her in-laws for who they truly were. About a month later, Emily was looking at her credit card statement and was horrified. The balance on the family card, which was in her name, was over $8,000 more than triple the usual amount. The statement listed charges from luxury department stores, high-end Japanese restaurants, and a golf club. With a trembling hand, she called Susan. Susan, I'm looking at the credit card statement. What is all this? There's over $5,000 in charges from Nordstrom. You know my situation. How could you do this? The voice on the other end of the line was utterly unapologetic. Watch your tone, young lady. Is that how your mother raised you? So I spent a little money. Is it that big a deal? I'm stressed out taking care of a sick husband. So I did a little shopping. What? A daughter-in-law can't even do that for me. Susan, I quit my job. I have no income now. I'm using my severance pay to cover the hospital bills. If you spend like this, what are we going to live on? Susan scoffed. If you need money, ask your husband. Why are you yelling at me? It's not my fault you can't manage your money properly. I needed to relieve some stress, and you're this upset about it? God, you're annoying. The call ended abruptly. Emily stared blankly at her phone. Her hands shook, but she was beyond tears. An overwhelming sense of betrayal washed over her. Right. To you people, I was never a person. Just a money machine and a convenient slave. Emily made a decision. She would escape this hell, which they held so sacred under the name of family, in the most devastating way possible. Her eyes no longer held sadness, but burned with the cold flames of revenge. $40,000. Exactly $40,000. Emily muttered blankly, staring at the number displayed on her banking app. It was the result of a decade of her youth, enduring hellish commutes on the L train and bowing to the whims of her superiors. It might not seem like much to some, but to Emily, it was her only lifeline, her last resort to escape this prison. Emily sat in the corner of a small cafe near her old office, sipping a cold iced Americano. She mentally calculated whether this money would be enough to cover rent while she looked for a new job, or maybe even start a small tutoring business. But her peaceful contemplation didn't last 5 minutes. As if on cue, her phone rang loudly. It was her mother-in-law. "Hey, Emily, isn't today the day your severance pay comes in? Did you get it?" Susan's voice was a pitch higher than usual, buzzing with an unsettling excitement. A chill ran down Emily's spine. "Yes, Susan. I just confirmed it." "How much?" "It must be over 100 grand, right? You worked there for 10 years. It should be at least that much." "No, Susan. After taxes and everything, it's about $40,000. "What? 40,000? That's it? What a ripoff." "Well, I guess it'll have to do for now." Good timing. This month's chemo, hospital stay, and special tests came out to over $6,000. The billing office is threatening to discharge him. So, get over here and pay it right now. Susan ordered with an air of entitlement, as if checking the balance of her own bank account. Emily's hands began to shake. "Susan, that's my severance pay. It's for my future, for our living expenses. Dad's hospital bill should be paid by Mike, or from your savings." Susan's voice instantly turned sharp. "Are you out of your mind? Your father-in-law is dying, and you're talking about money? Wasn't the whole point of you quitting your job to get that severance pay? I graciously allowed you to resign, so you'd have the money to dedicate yourself to his care. Of course, that money is for his hospital bills. Were you planning on pocketing it all for yourself? You are a truly terrifying woman." Susan's logic was astounding. It became crystal clear that the only reason she had forced Emily to quit was to use her severance pay for medical bills. Speechless, Emily stared at her phone. A short while later, standing at the hospital billing window, Emily's eyes were vacant. "Ma'am, the total is $6,300. How would you like to pay?" The clerk's cheerful voice stabbed at Emily's heart. With a trembling hand, Emily presented the debit card linked to her severance account. With the sound of the transaction, a notification popped up on her phone. Her balance had dropped by over $6,000. "And ma'am, would you like to be registered as the primary guarantor? If you register, all future bills will be sent directly to you, making payments much easier. Your mother-in-law was here earlier and asked us to set everything up under your name." "My mother-in-law did?" Emily paused. "Yes, please do that." Resigned, Emily wrote her name on the form. It was the moment she was officially registered as Emily, daughter-in-law of George, and the designated wallet responsible for all of this family's debts. When she went up to the room, Susan was casually peeling an apple. "Did you pay? How much is left?" "About $34,000. "Wow, that's going down fast." "Well, it should last us a month or two." "What a relief." Susan's indifference was suffocating. "Susan, what happens in a month or two? What happens when my money runs out? You'll have to figure it out. A capable daughter-in-law would find a way, whether it's borrowing money or asking her own family for help." "Why are you asking me? My son's business is a mess. If you just sit on your hands, are we all supposed to starve? Managing money is the wife's job." Susan took a large bite of the apple and casually flipped through the TV channels. That evening, the situation at her husband's bar was even more pathetic. Mike was at the counter with 3 of his friends, surrounded by empty soju bottles, laughing loudly. "Oh, hey honey. Guys, say hi. This is my wife. Super capable," Mike boasted, puffing out his chest. Emily ignored him and went into the kitchen to tackle the mountain of dishes. A moment later, a tipsy Mike stumbled in and poked her in the side. "Honey, let me get your card. Me and the guys are going for a round 2. I gotta treat them tonight." "Use your own card. I need mine for hospital bills and living expenses. Mine's maxed out." "Hey, Emily, I heard you got $40,000 in severance. When a wife has that kind of money, it's only polite to help her husband save face, right? I'll just spend $100. Just $100. I'll pay you back 10 times over when the bar takes off. Now, give it to me." Mike snatched the wallet from Emily's purse, grabbed the card, and left. His promise to pay her back echoed emptily off the kitchen walls. The next morning, the credit card statement was a disaster. The $100 Mike spent on drinks was just the beginning. There was a $150 charge from the grocery store by Susan, a $200 charge from a cosmetics store, and a $300 charge from a clothing boutique at the mall. In a single day, over $750 of Emily's severance pay had vanished into thin air. Emily immediately called Susan. "Susan, how could you spend so much in one day? I told you this money was for the hospital bills." On the other end, Susan shot back, her voice rising. "Are you raising your voice at me? Is that what your parents taught you? So your mother-in-law buys some clothes and makeup? Is it really that big a deal? I have to look presentable when I'm at the hospital. Can a daughter-in-law even help her mother-in-law keep up appearances? If you're short on money, you should be more frugal. It's your poor money management that's the problem." Emily gripped her phone tightly and stood frozen in the middle of the hospital corridor. Hospital bills, bar operating costs, her mother-in-law's shopping sprees, her husband's bar tabs, every single expense was being drained from her one severance account like venom. "It's all my money. I was the one earning it for this family, and now I'm the only one spending it." With a pale, trembling hand, Emily checked her bank account balance. The speed at which the numbers were shrinking was terrifying. In this horrific extortion master's family, Emily painfully realized that she was not their partner, but a disposable commodity. "Once this money runs out, you'll just throw me away like trash. But that's not going to happen. I'll be the one to throw you all away first." A cold resolve formed in Emily's eyes. She would no longer be a fool. Clasping her icy heart, Emily began to plan her next move. The hospital waiting room was filled with the pungent smell of antiseptic and the low hum of conversations. Emily carefully pushed her father-in-law George's wheelchair, his body frail and thin, toward a corner. Her mother-in-law, Susan, who had been striding ahead, immediately plopped herself into the first empty seat she saw. "Hey, park him here. He's in the way of people walking by." At Susan's command, Emily locked the wheelchair's brakes and went to get a number from the kiosk. Number 38. It would be at least an hour's wait. Settled in her chair, Susan didn't even bother to open her purse, instead staring at Emily expectantly. "Emily, I'm thirsty. Go buy me some cold water. You know how picky I am. Nothing lukewarm." Wordlessly, Emily went to the vending machine. She took out her wallet and paid for 2 bottles of water with her own card. Susan took the water without a word of thanks, twisted the cap off, and took a sip. Her ears perked up at the whispers of other family members nearby. "Oh, look at that family. It's not easy to find a daughter-in-law that devoted these days." Hearing the praise from the woman in the next seat, Susan seized the opportunity, raising her voice loud enough for everyone in the waiting room to hear. "That's right. Our Emily is a true saint. She quit her great job just to take care of her father-in-law. She'd been there for over 10 years, but she said she had no regrets. She even brought her severance pay, all $40,000 of it, and said she wanted to put it all toward his hospital bills." People around them looked at Emily with admiration. Emily lowered her head, mortified. Not only had she never offered to give them all of her severance, but that money was already being steadily chipped away by Susan's extravagant spending. "Susan, that's not exactly." Emily began cautiously, but Susan cut her off by pinching her thigh hard. "Who are you to interrupt when I'm speaking? Just be quiet." Then, turning back to the others, Susan's expression changed in an instant as she began her performance as the tragic mother-in-law. "But you know, young people these days lack sincerity. My daughter-in-law might be here physically, but her mind is elsewhere. You should see her when she's feeding him. It's a spectacle. It's like she just wants to get it over with, shoving the spoon in his mouth. And when she bathes him, she's so careless. Even when I'm watching, there's no heart in it." Emily couldn't believe her ears. Her efforts waking up at 5 a.m. every day to clean the hospital room floor, changing George's diapers, and carefully applying cream to prevent bed sores were being instantly dismissed as worthless. "Susan, when have I ever done that? I'm here from dawn until dusk, working without a moment's rest. How can you say I lack sincerity?" At Emily's protest, Susan scoffed and shouted, her voice echoing through the waiting room. "What's so special about coming at 6 a.m.? A truly devoted daughter-in-law would stay by his side all night. But you? You run home the second evening comes. How dare you act so proud over doing the bare minimum? Quitting your job was your duty. Do you think that makes you some kind of hero? If you're going to hold that over our heads, then just leave." The gazes of the people around them turned icy in an instant. Overwhelmed by Susan's outrageous behavior, Emily had to stand up and walk away. But her father-in-law, George, who had witnessed the entire scene, simply stared out the window, not saying a single word in her defense. Tsk. Kids these days have no respect. Look at her, face all red just because her mother-in-law offered a little criticism. Leaving Susan's sneering comments behind, Emily ran to the parking garage and threw herself into her car. Her hands trembled and tears welled in her eyes. In a last-ditch effort, she called her husband, but his response only brought more despair. Why do you keep calling? I'm busy getting the bar ready to open. If Mom is being difficult, just try to understand. She's stressed out from being at the hospital. You just have to be patient. Okay? I'm busy, gotta go. The abrupt end of the call confirmed a painful truth. Emily had no allies in this family. An hour later, when she returned to the hospital room, Susan greeted her with a scowl. Where have you been? The tests are all done. I had to push the wheelchair myself because you weren't here. What is your job in this family if you keep disappearing? Emily didn't answer. An apology wasn't worth the breath. That night, back home, Emily opened her laptop and created an Excel spreadsheet. She began to meticulously analyze her credit card statements from the past few months. The results were shocking. While the hospital bills averaged around $6,000 a month, when combined with Susan's shopping, Mike's drinking, and the family's other lavish expenses, a staggering total of over $12,000 a month was being drained from Emily's severance account. The money Susan and Mike were spending on their own entertainment was far more than what was being spent on George's treatment. Holding it over our heads, you said, Susan, fine. From now on, I won't give you anything to hold over me. The tears in Emily's eyes dried up, replaced by a cold frost. The burning anger subsided, leaving only cool reason in its place. Emily created a new file named Operation Exit. While you waste my hard-earned money like it's trash, I'll be preparing to discard you. An exit. That's the only way to end this hell. Emily's fingers were resolute as they flew across the keyboard. As the numbers on the screen fell into place, her decision became unshakable. The curtain was about to rise on her satisfying revenge. Finally, all the numbers add up. Emily, her eyes red and strained, whispered quietly as she stared at the laptop screen. The Excel file, which she had worked on all night, cruelly categorized where every drop of her blood and sweat from the past year had gone. From hospital payment records, to her husband Mike's bar tabs, and the price of the designer handbag her mother-in-law Susan had bought at Nordstrom. The numbers never lied. All the money had been siphoned from Emily's account to line the pockets of her in-laws. Now it's time to calculate the price you'll pay for the duty you forced upon me. You should be excited. Emily took a sip of her cold coffee and closed the laptop. The clock already showed 5 a.m. Normally, she would be rushing to get ready for the hospital, but today, her destination wasn't a patient's room, but the hospital's financial counseling office. At 9 a.m. sharp, Emily knocked on the door of the financial counseling office. A counselor greeted her with a friendly smile. Oh, you're Mr. George's guardian, aren't you? What can I help you with today? Emily took out her ID and prepared documents from her bag and stated firmly, I'm here to change the primary guarantor. I've resigned from my job and no longer have the financial ability to cover the costs. From now on, please change the billing to be in the name of his son, Mike. Of course. As soon as his son, as immediate family, comes in to sign the forms, we can process that immediately. Once the change is made, no further charges will be billed to you, so you can rest assured. At the counselor's kind explanation, Emily felt a weight lift from her chest. Leaving the office, she opened the Notes app on her phone and made a check mark. Step 1. Change hospital billing structure. Now, I just need to decide whose hands to place this ticking bomb in. Entering the hospital room, she found Susan lounging as usual, cackling at a variety show on TV. Her husband, lying in bed with an IV in his arm, was completely ignored. Susan, I told Mike to come to the hospital today. The hospital needs his signature on some family verification document. They said he has to come in person. Mike? He's been saying he's too busy with the bar to even visit for over a week. Do you think he'll come? Just handle it yourself. Susan waved her hand dismissively. Emily sneered inwardly. As if I don't know, he's busy playing games and drinking. No, Susan. The hospital has a new billing system. If an immediate family member doesn't provide their ID, they're going to forcibly discharge the patient. If Mike doesn't come, Dad will be out on the street. Only then did Susan's eyes widen in alarm. What? Discharge him? Oh my goodness, that can't happen. I'll call him right now and tell him to get over here. That boy. His wife is working so hard, and he doesn't even show his face. What is he thinking? Muttering complaints about her own son, Susan frantically started dialing. In that moment, Emily made a second check mark in her notes. Step 2. Lure Mike to the hospital. Success. He's walking right into the trap of his own free will. At 2 p.m., Emily headed to Mike's bar. The moment she opened the door, the stale smell of old beer and cigarettes hit her. Mike was at the counter with his feet up, engrossed in a game on his phone. You're here? What about the hospital? Now that you've quit your job, you must have a lot of free time. Ignoring Mike's sarcastic remark, Emily calmly took out the bar's ledger. I'm here to go over the books. You just whine about losing money, but do you even know exactly how much you're in the red? Emily's eyes scanned the ledger, sharp and focused. Rent, $2,000. Supplies, $1,500. Utilities, $500. The fixed costs were $4,000 a month, while sales hovered between $4,500 and $5,000. After subtracting the money Mike spent drinking with his friends, this wasn't a business, it was a charity. Mike, your fixed costs alone are $4,000 a month. This means you're operating at a loss. Did you know that? Oh, why are you making this so complicated? You worked in finance for 10 years, right? You should be the one to figure out how to cut costs or bring in more customers. A wife with skills should make her husband's life easier, right? Just let me play my game. Go away. Mike pushed Emily away in annoyance. Emily stared at the back of his head with cold eyes and closed the ledger. Step 3. Grasp bar's financial situation. Complete. The moment I stop funding it, this place will collapse in less than a month. As she sat in her car after leaving the bar, Emily received an unexpected call. It was Jessica, a former junior colleague from her finance team. Emily, it's Jessica. I was so shocked to hear you quit. Hey, are you available to start working right away? A friend's company is urgently looking for an experienced finance manager. The salary is around $90,000, and it's a remote position. With your experience, you'd be a shoo-in. Are you interested? Emily took a moment to breathe. $90,000. The value that her in-laws had treated like trash was still shining brightly in the professional world. I'll send you my resume right now. Thank you so much, Jessica. Step 4. Secure new employment. Successful. Now that I've set up my escape boat, all that's left is to get off this sinking ship. The next morning, while Susan was in the bathroom, Emily seized the opportunity to open her designer handbag. Inside the wallet, she found 5 credit cards in her name. Department store cards. A wholesale club card. A gas card. Susan had been wielding her daughter-in-law's cards as if they were her own, playing the part of a queen. Emily photographed each card, documenting the evidence. That afternoon, a grumbling Mike showed up at the hospital billing office. The counselor handed him a form with a pleasant smile. Ah, the son is here. Please sign this patient guardian consent form. The moment you sign, you will become the primary guarantor, and all hospital bills will be charged directly to you. Primary guarantor? What's that? Does that mean I have to pay? Mike asked, flustered. Emily fanned the flames from the side. Susan said it's the son's duty to take care of his parents. My severance pay is almost gone. He's your father, so it's right for you to take responsibility. What? $6,000 a month? How am I supposed to pay that? Are you serious? Mike shouted, his voice echoing through the office. But the counselor responded coolly. If you do not sign, sir, the patient's treatment will be suspended as of today, and he will be discharged. It's hospital policy. We can't make exceptions. Mike's face turned ashen. Trembling, he finally scrawled his signature on the form. Watching him, Emily smiled a cold, triumphant smile. Back home, Emily opened her laptop and typed one final sentence. Final confirmation. The moment I cut ties, all systems will collapse simultaneously. Hospital bill payments will stop. Bar finances will halt. Mother-in-law's lifestyle spending will be frozen. Emily pressed the enter key with force. It was time to pull the plug on this hellish family once and for all. At 4 a.m., in the pitch-black darkness, Emily's eyes snapped open. She hadn't set an alarm, but her body remembered the hellish hour. Yet, it was no longer a source of pain. Instead, it felt like the starting signal for her countdown to freedom. Emily pulled a pre-packed suitcase from under her bed. She opened her closet and began packing her clothes. In 15 long years of marriage, all she had acquired in this house was a single suitcase of old clothes and rough, calloused hands. From the back of a drawer, she retrieved a stack of bank books and cards. 3 bank accounts in her name and a dozen credit cards, the very straws her in-laws had used to suck her dry. Now, I'll be the one to cut these straws myself. Emily took a pair of scissors and mercilessly cut each card into pieces. The sound of plastic shards falling into the trash can was music to her ears. But she wasn't done. Turning on her laptop, she logged into her online banking with familiar ease. The family card Susan used at department stores. The entertainment card Mike used for his nights out one by one. She canceled them all. With each click of the confirm button, the words "cancellation complete" appeared on the screen, and Emily's heart grew colder and more resolute. Dragging her suitcase into the living room, she saw her husband, Mike, passed out on the sofa, reeking of alcohol. Empty soju bottles were scattered on the floor. He was snoring, oblivious to the world, a sight so peaceful it was infuriating. Emily looked down at him with cold eyes and offered a final farewell. "Mike, from now on, you're responsible for your own life. You're the one who kicked over the table I set for you." Without leaving so much as a note, Emily walked out the front door. The click of the deadbolt locking behind her sounded unusually firm and final. At 8 a.m., Emily arrived in front of Mike's bar. She used her key to open the door and placed the key and a single note on the empty counter. Returning the bar key, "From now on, you can handle the accounting and supply orders yourself. I have no intention of propping up this place with my money any longer." Without a second glance, Emily left the bar. She didn't even lock the door. Whether it was robbed or went bankrupt, it was no longer her concern. Sitting in a nearby cafe, she opened her phone and looked at the group chat named the Park Family. It was a hellish space filled with her mother-in-law's endless errands and her husband's constant whining. Emily pressed the leave button. "Emily has left the chat." A dry notification appeared, but no one reacted. Susan was still at the hospital waiting for her free meal, and Mike was at home, nursing a hangover. At 10 a.m., Susan's irritated voice broke the morning calm of the oncology ward. "Why isn't she here yet? It's after 10, and she's nowhere to be seen. What kind of attitude is that for someone caring for a patient?" "Ma'am, your daughter-in-law hasn't arrived yet? I hope everything is all right," a nurse commented. Fuming, Susan called Emily's phone, but all she got was a cold, automated message. She tried once, twice, 10 times, but Emily didn't pick up. Her text messages went unread. A sense of unease began to creep over Susan. Has she lost her mind? How dare she ignore my calls? Her father-in-law has a test scheduled. Where is she slacking off? At 2 p.m., Mike woke up with a parched throat. "Emily, get me some water. My head is killing me." When there was no answer, he stomped irritably to the kitchen. But the refrigerator was empty, not even a bottle of water, and the breakfast that was always prepared for him was gone. A strange feeling led him to throw open the bedroom door, where he let out a shout. All of Emily's belongings were gone. What? Did she run away? "Hey, Emily, are you playing games with me?" Mike frantically called her phone, but she still didn't answer. Just then, an urgent call came from one of the bar's employees. "Boss, the guy from the food supply company is freaking out. He said if the outstanding balance isn't paid, he's not delivering any ingredients today. He said the missus's cards are all declined." "What's going on?" "What? Declined? What are you talking about?" Mike scrambled to open his banking app, but every payment system linked to Emily's name was already dead. Meanwhile, a bigger crisis was unfolding at the hospital. The billing office had summoned Susan. "Ma'am, this month's interim payment hasn't been made. Since the primary guarantor was changed, we billed your son's card, but it was declined for exceeding the limit." "That can't be right. Just use my daughter-in-law's card." Susan confidently handed over one of Emily's cards, only to be met with the clerk's cold reply. "This card has been canceled." Susan frantically presented every other card she had, but the result was the same. Emily had already canceled every card that had been in her mother-in-law's wallet. "What is happening? Mike, you need to get to the hospital, now." "I think Emily canceled all the cards and ran away." At Susan's panicked call, Mike let out a scream of his own. The bar had to close because it had no ingredients, and text messages demanding rent and utility payments started pouring in. The massive pillar named Emily, the daughter-in-law they had so thoroughly disregarded, had been removed, and their lives were crumbling like a sandcastle. At that moment, Emily was sitting on the sofa of a bright, clean studio apartment. Her phone showed nearly 100 missed calls from Susan and Mike, but she didn't even glance at it. Instead, she smiled as she checked a new email. Dear Emily, congratulations on your new position as finance manager. We look forward to you starting next Monday. Emily turned off her phone. It was the first time in over a decade she had experienced perfect silence and peace. Emily's real life was just beginning. What do you mean the payment won't go through? What on earth are you talking about? Susan's shrill voice echoed down the hospital's billing corridor. The clerk, looking apologetic, turned the computer monitor toward her. Ma'am, all of the registered Guardians cards are showing as suspended. The cancellation request came directly from the card company, so there's nothing we can do. If you have another method of payment, we need you to take care of it now. What other method? This is the only card my daughter-in-law gave me to use. Wait, this must be a temporary error. Try swiping it again. With a trembling hand, Susan pushed the cancel card forward again. But the machine just beeped coldly, displaying transaction denied. Finally, Susan rummaged through her purse and pulled out some cash. All she had were 5 wrinkled $100 bills. This $500 is all I have on me right now. How much did you say this month's bill was again? The total is $6,400, ma'am. Susan felt her legs give out and nearly collapsed right there. Number $6,400. It was a number she had never paid attention to when Emily was handling it, but now it felt like a giant boulder crushing the air from her lungs. The bill is already a week overdue. If it isn't settled by the end of today, tomorrow's scheduled chemotherapy session will be canceled. It's hospital policy. We can't extend any more courtesies. At the clerk's firm words, Susan stumbled back to the hospital room. Her husband, George, lying in bed, saw his wife's pale face and asked urgently, "What happened? Did you pay the bill? It's $6,400. If we don't pay today, you can't get your chemo tomorrow." That crazy girl Emily won't answer her phone. Is she trying to kill her own father-in-law? How could she do this? Susan began frantically calling Emily again. 1 call, 2, 10. But all she heard was the monotonous ringtone. Losing her patience, she unleashed a barrage of text messages. Emily, are you playing games? If you don't pay this hospital bill right now, your father-in-law is going to die. You don't play with someone's life like this. Contact me immediately. But no matter what she sent, the read receipt never appeared. Emily's silence was a more powerful pressure than any shouting match, stabbing at Susan's heart. At that same time, her husband Mike's bar was in chaos. Suppliers had shown up at the entrance, ready to grab Mike by the collar. "Hey Mike, this month's payment for supplies didn't go through. The card was declined. Are you messing with us? If we don't see that $2,000 in our account today, we're taking all our products back." Mike broke out in a cold sweat, fumbling through his wallet, but his own cards were already maxed out and useless. He checked his bank account balance, $230. That was all the money he had to his name. "Emily, please, just answer the phone. I'm really going to lose everything." Mike called Emily over 50 times, sending desperate texts. "Hey, you're really something else. Are you happy now that the bar is ruined? We're married. How could you do this? Call me right now." But Emily remained silent. As the afternoon wore on, the situation turned desperate. The bar was forced to close due to a lack of supplies, and Susan sat on the hospital room sofa, tearing at her hair and sobbing with rage. "Mike, have you found Emily? If we can't pay the bill, your father is going to be kicked out tomorrow." "I don't know, Mom. The bar is closed. All my friends who could lend me money aren't answering their phones. She canceled all the cards. There's nothing I can do." The desperate cries of mother and son flew back and forth over the phone, but there was no solution. Then, around 4 p.m., a single text message finally arrived from Emily. "State your business via text only." Her eyes wild, Susan furiously typed a reply. "Emily, the hospital bill is urgent. Get here and pay it now. Have you no decency? What is this?" A cold reply came back from Emily. "Why should I pay it?" Susan trembled as she stared at her phone screen. "Because you're the daughter-in-law. It's your duty to take care of your father-in-law's medical bills. If I don't pay, who will?" "Susan, I've already spent $40,000. My entire decade's worth of severance pay. I don't have another dime to give you people, so ask your son." "Emily, have you lost your mind? Are you really going to do this?" "Yes, I have. After 15 years of living like a slave, I've finally come to my senses. And I'm not your daughter-in-law anymore. I've sent the divorce papers by mail. You can check for yourself," Susan screamed and called Emily's number. And this time, Emily answered, "Divorce? Who do you think you are to decide that? You get to this hospital right now. If Dad's treatment is stopped, you'll be responsible. That's something your son should be responsible for. That's $6,000 hospital bill. It's less than what you two spend on luxuries in a single month. If you're giving up on his treatment because you don't have that money, then you're the ones killing him, not me. Don't ever contact me again." The line went dead, and after that, Emily blocked them completely. Mike and Susan took turns calling frantically, but it was no use. In that one day, Mike had called 63 times, and Susan 57. A total of 120 missed calls piled up. But Emily didn't even look at one. By 10 p.m., sitting alone in his dark, empty bar, Mike realized something. What he was so desperately searching for wasn't his wife, Emily, but the money that flowed from her bank account. Meanwhile, Emily was laughing brightly at a welcome dinner for her new company. Under the warm lights, clinking glasses with her kind new colleagues, she didn't feel the vibration of her phone, buried deep in her purse. Or rather, she chose not to feel it. "Emily, we're so glad to have you on the team. Welcome aboard." "Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. I feel like I can finally start living my own life." For the first time in 15 years, Emily smiled a genuine, radiant smile. Louder than the ringing of 120 missed calls was the sound of her own heart, finally beating freely. The gates of hell had closed, and before Emily, only a shining future lay ahead. "Ma'am, with the payment being delayed, we can no longer proceed with the chemotherapy schedule starting next week. The hospital regrets this, but it's a matter of policy." At the doctor's cold verdict, George, his body withered and frail, could only lie in his bed and stare blankly at the ceiling. Susan clutched to the doctor's white coat, her hands wringing as she pleaded desperately. "Doctor, what are you saying? If we stop the chemo, you're basically telling my husband to die. We have to continue the treatment, somehow. Unless payment is made beforehand, the pharmacy is blocked from dispensing the medication. Please discuss this with the billing office." The doctor turned away coldly and left the room. Susan collapsed onto the corridor floor and began to sob. But this was only the beginning of their hell. A clerk from the billing office approached and summoned her to the cold counter. "Ma'am, regarding patient George, there is last month's overdue balance of $6,400, plus this month's estimated treatment cost of $7,200, for a total of $13,600. If this is not paid by the end of today, we will proceed with a mandatory discharge tomorrow morning." The clerk's voice echoed throughout the hallway, and other families began to whisper. "Oh, that family. I heard the daughter-in-law ran away. Looks like they can't even pay the hospital bills and are getting kicked out. Ska, I wonder how badly they treated her for her to just cut ties like that. They're getting what they deserve." Susan wanted the ground to swallow her whole, having lived her entire life conscious of what others thought. This situation, being unable to pay hospital bills and getting kicked out because her daughter-in-law was gone, was a shame worse than death. At that moment, a shabby sign reading, "Closed due to personal reasons," was taped to the door of Mike's bar. Inside the unlit space, Mike sat trembling, clutching his phone. Incessant text messages from suppliers demanding payment flooded his screen, and now, even the landlord had shown up, pounding on the door. "Mike, I know you're in there. You owe this month's rent plus last month's late fees. Pay up now. If I don't see the money by the end of this week, I'm starting eviction proceedings and throwing all your stuff out." Just as the landlord's chilling warning ended, a call came from an unknown number. Hoping it might be Emily, Mike answered frantically. "Hello? Emily, is that you? Where are you? Am I speaking with Mr. Mike? This is James Kim from the law firm of Peterson and Associates. I'm calling on behalf of my client, Miss Emily." Mike's heart plummeted. A lawyer? The reality that Emily was truly abandoning him finally hit him with full force. A lawyer? Where's Emily? Let me talk to her. I'll talk to her directly. My client has refused all direct communication with you, Mr. Mike. The divorce petition and the asset division agreement have been sent to you via registered mail. Please review them and follow the legal procedures. Divorce? Why all of a sudden? We've been married for 15 years. At Mike's desperate cry, the lawyer replied with an unwavering voice. My client stated that it was not sudden. She said it was a farewell she had been preparing for every single day of the last 15 years, enduring the emotional abuse and financial exploitation perpetrated by you and your family. The line went dead. Mike was overcome with a sickening sense of betrayal and terror, and he collapsed onto the floor. When Susan heard the news, she called Mike from the hospital, shrieking, "What? Divorce? That crazy woman. How dare she even mention divorce? You drag her home right now. Make her kneel, and tell her to pay the hospital bills." But George, who had been listening quietly, spoke up for the first time, his voice weak as he interrupted his wife. "Stop it. Do you really think Emily will come back? Have we ever treated her like a person? We treated her like a money machine, a convenient slave. Without Emily, can any one of us even take care of ourselves? We're the ones who destroyed her. Are you taking her side now, after she abandoned us?" Susan screamed, but George simply closed his eyes in despair. They finally understood. Without the massive pillar of support named Emily, their lives were nothing but empty shells. At that moment, Emily was in the pleasant office of her new company, organizing documents and enjoying a peaceful afternoon. When a colleague next to her asked a cautious question, Emily no longer had anything to hide. "Emily, is everything okay at home? I noticed your phone has been ringing off the hook." "Oh, it's nothing. I'm getting a divorce soon, so there are just a few things to sort out. Actually, this is the most liberating and happiest moment of my life." Emily smiled, a genuine, radiant smile. After work, Emily visited her lawyer's office to review the contents of the petition sent to her husband. She murmured coldly, "Grounds for irreconcilable differences, emotional abuse, financial exploitation, and continuous personal degradation. I can't fit the hell I endured for 15 years onto a few pieces of paper, but this will be enough. I don't even want any asset division. I've already paid for my life's sins with my $40,000 severance pay." Leaving the lawyer's office, Emily took a deep breath of the night air. The heavy weight that had been crushing her chest for 15 years was finally gone. While Mike was at home, tearing up the documents Emily had sent and screaming, "When did I ever exploit you?" and Susan was at the hospital, frantically trying to borrow money. Emily was in her small studio apartment, enjoying the quiet comfort of a warm cup of tea by the window. The over 100 missed calls on her phone no longer instilled any fear or guilt. Looking at the bright moon outside her window, Emily whispered to herself, "It's really over now. The Emily who was your slave is dead, and my real life has just begun." A true peace, one she hadn't felt in 15 years, settled on Emily's face. She was no longer someone's daughter-in-law or someone's wife. She was only herself, ready to face a brilliant new day. In writing this story, the most heartbreaking element was the 15 long years Emily endured under the gaslighting of duty. Exploitation carried out in the name of family can sometimes be crueler and more relentless than that of strangers, slowly eroding a person's soul. To her in-laws, Emily was not family, but an endless source of money and an emotional dumping ground. As the author, the lesson I wish to convey is clear. Boundless sacrifice for others is not a virtue, and kindness that fails to protect oneself will ultimately only feed the greed of others. The $40,000 that Emily lost was an expensive lesson, but it was also a precious opportunity for her to realize her own worth. Even within a family, if there is no minimum level of respect and decency, that relationship is not a sanctuary to be protected, but a prison that must be escaped. If there is anyone out there currently shouldering all the burdens alone for the sake of family, I sincerely hope Emily's decision gives you the small courage you need to reclaim your own life. Your life does not exist to be a tool for someone else. Did you enjoy today's story? Please leave your thoughts in the comments. If this story felt all too familiar, please subscribe and leave a like. Thank you for reading to the end. Have a wonderful day.